Come in. Welcome to Tribes, welcome to Platonia. We'd like to invite you to the most interesting show that has been done here in years, dealing with the concept of time.
Which is the premise of the show, for everybody to interpret their time the way they would see it, and not just a clock in the sense of the collective clock that we all live by. This piece is by John Oswald. He ground an object into fine particles, and he won't say what object it is. Perhaps it is a clock, literally, but I'm not sure. John also created an audio component for this piece, which is the sound of birds in nature, which you could hear, to kind of show the sounds of life here on Earth, and then also present this universe which is created from the breaking down of an object. Eric Trosko made this Platonia painting to chart his universe of iconographies and symbols, and the dash lines and the circles and the furry anthropomorphic objects are all parts of his language, and yet they're scattered across this universe that's speckled with stars. And he also created a diagonal line to show what he thinks time is. So the division is the time. This piece by Andreas Gurewich, titled Harlequin with a Mirror, is a floor-to-ceiling piece which I think compresses a lot of his disparate views of art and time, and he created a lot of different juxtapositions between delicacy and disco, and also incorporating art historical themes and art historical techniques in painting, while at the same time revising those kind of art historical themes and changing their context, changing their meanings. There's some interesting allegories with the ladder and the eggs and the precariousness of our time. I think it's more expository of the moment rather than the concept of the show. It is a moment in time. This piece by Sven Loven is titled Donatella Versace with Icon. I saw this piece being created, and I know that he painstakingly rendered Donatella's face in a kind of technique of scraping colored pencils, and rendered her unique physical attributes. Her icon, I suppose the Versace icon, is somewhat parodied in its flamethrower-esque depiction, and represents less a crest and more a squashed bug or some kind of distasteful thing, whereas she, also seemingly grotesque, is made beautiful in his colored pencil drawing. This piece by Michael Raphael is somewhat of a shrine, a house, a religious house that pays tribute to Melchizedek, who is a somewhat disputed figure in history, whether he was the image of Christ or predated Christ and had some of the same influences. And I think that's an interesting analogy for time as we structure our time before Christ and after Christ, and the way that we distinguish the change in time through the lens of religion. In this piece, he's also discussing the Bobo Ashanti in Jamaica, who believe that Prince Emmanuel, who's within the house, is a direct descendant of King Solomon, and he also follows the beliefs of Melchizedek, who's an ancient Hebrew figure. This porcelain platter by Douglas Peltzman is his view through the back of a large clock that he saw in Paris and stuck with him, and when I talked to him about the concept of the show, he instantly knew what he wanted to do. Creating ceramics for him is a lot about time, and he feels that the platter and a lot of his cups and the rituals therein of eating and sharing food and wine is more his personal clock. He doesn't follow the clock as much as he follows the body's clock, and the way that ceramics relate to our bodies is evident in our habits. Jason Grabowski's piece contains the contents of his room, combined some of what is really in his life with also the imaginative drawings he creates on a daily basis. He also incorporated the mirror, which I think he's been thinking about a lot, and how that relates to the artistic practice. He's been working a lot with the typewriter, so the typewriter is there, and the drawing that he's making is literally, it's as if he's making the piece here, and he's left the building, and now the piece remains as it was being made. The two-sided noose, I think, symbolizes analogy of time. It also represents an infinity symbol, which he also depicts on the cup as well.